to Convo Fango. Today we are joined by the star of the upcoming Torn Hearts, Katey Sagal. Woo!
Yay.
Yay! Thank you for coming to chat with us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
So, in this, you get to play country music idol Harper Dutch, who's sort of like a Dolly, Reba, Judd sisters type of character, which is very cool. But you are actually in real life a singer-songwriter as well, which kind of brings
Yes,
in another cool element to this.
it kind of does. It was another part of it that I was attracted to because I started as a musician, but long before I was an actor. So anytime I get to, goof around in the music world, that's bank for me. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Would you still say music is your first love, or is acting kind of has caught up on par with that?
I think it's pretty much caught up. Music is something I've done since I was like 10 years old.
Mhm.
My mother taught me to play the guitar. And so it's very, very familiar to me. So when
Right.
I'm playing music, it's just, it's just kind of, I just know it very well,
Hmm.
that genre. So, and acting, I've kind of learned as I go. And I keep learning. And now I really, I love being an actor. It's so,
Hmm.
so, so great. So, I would say it's not as familiar to me as music.
Okay. So you love them both, but in different ways because you experience them differently.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
very different. They really are
Right.
different.
Okay. We'll accept that answer. All right.
Okay. Well, it's true because playing music is sort of a piece of your you,
Mhm.
and acting tends to be pieces of you, but you're sort of channeling different pieces of you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Into whatever role it is you're playing.
Well, especially when you're
Where
writing the music that you're performing, like that's like just your soul is just like
yeah,
all out there.
right, exactly.
I would imagine. I don't write music, but I imagine that's what it feels like.
No, yeah. I mean, it's super vulnerable. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, with it, whereas when it's acting, I mean that's vulnerable as well, but you can always be like, well, that's the character. Even if there's like a big chunk of you in there, you get to kind of use that as like, oh, well, that's a character thing. Whereas when you're singing and songwriting, that's like, yeah, that's all me. There's nothing to like kind of
Yeah.
hide behind.
Like like Torn Hearts, Harper is definitely not something I would do, not me in any way. That's not my experience of life.
Hmm.
But yeah, whereas music is more your own experience of your life.
Right. You get to we see this in the trailer a bit, so it's no spoilers, but you get to go a bit unhinged in this. Was that fun to play?
So fun. Well, first of all, I'd never done a horror movie.
Mhm.
So when it came to me and I wanted to do it, I was just immediately, yes, I've never done that. So um yeah, and from the jump, she's pretty unraveled.
Yeah.
But you definitely see her unraveled unravel completely. And yeah, it was really fun to play that. It was so because it's mental illness to she's delusional. She's
Hmm.
like another world. So yeah, that was fun to play.
But in a way that's fun to watch on screen, like that
I,
kind of
I
a
would
way.
hope so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I really um it's like any character you play. I had a lot of empathy for her, a lot of
Mhm.
compassion for her. Her circumstance was came out of fear and insecurity, and what is revealed in the movie, that her behavior, her big secret is from just such a first of all, it's what show business can do to somebody.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's what being in the spotlight can do to somebody, and how they'll become vicious to get what it is that they want. So, and it's sibling rivalry. It's a whole, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But,
Layers.
as a viewer, you're not going to, you'll just enjoy it and hopefully be scared.
Right. Well, I love the dichotomy of it because I mean, I very much related, not in all ways, obviously, but to the two girls who are trying to get in Harper's good graces. Like, it's this dichotomy of like, oh, I love you, but I'm also now fucking terrified of you, and
Right.
you're trying to reconcile those two feelings.
Yeah. I think they were a little terrified of her from the jump. It's sort of like any person that you put in like a pedestal kind of position.
Hmm.
When you first meet them, you're going to be kind of apprehensive and afraid, and it's not that she's not embracing. She is embracing to them, but she's but there's just something else behind I. So I would
Something
be
lurking
totally,
beneath.
I would be completely creeped out by her. I would never have stayed in that house.
Okay, that brings up another thing because this is always like a this kind of theme creeps me out as well of like at what point do you say fuck this and peace out? Because there's this thing of like you don't want to be rude, but you're also like my politeness is getting me further into a sticky situation as well. Like she's clearly not well when you first arrive, but it's like okay, maybe like kind of quirky in a quirky way. And then it just kind of rabbit holes into something. Like at what point do you be like, okay, fuck this, I'm out?
Well, as you see, one of the Jordan, is it Jordan or it's the other girl? One of the girls wants to leave. It's pretty. She gets it, and then just like impossible to leave.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, she's peace out pretty quickly, and then the other girl is kind of like, no, this could really be good for my career. So it touches on the theme of how far we'll go for fame, how far
Right.
we'll go for, it's like everybody thinks it's just the brass ring.
Hmm.
So um, you put aside your own values, you put aside your own moral compass, and that's what we clearly see in one of these girls is that she's just like, no, fuck it, I'll do
Yeah.
anything.
Right. A little bit too above and beyond
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
willingness there. Yeah. And also that whole brass ring concept, it's cool because we have characters at the opposite end of the spectrum. We have these two that are like aspiring for what they think this brass ring is, and then we have this character who has had the brass ring and we see the reality of what that's like for her.
Oh, and how unrealistic your life can become if your whole self, if your inner self is tied into that to the
Hmm.
point where nothing else matters.
Right.
We are not what we do. It's kind
Hmm.
of my motto in my life is that, I am not defined by what I do.
Right.
So this is a woman who's definitely defined by what she, and so when it kind of goes away, she's quite just, yeah, she's left with not much.
Right. I do have to say she's also a very well-dressed woman. You get to
Ah,
wear some cool outfits in this.
I do. I have some cool outfits. She's a country music star, so she's still got that thing about her, which I loved playing. That was so fun too.
Yeah. She's also a recluse though, so I'm like that's like the most well-dressed recluse and I was like, "Well, actually I don't know because that's the point of a recluse is we don't see them. So maybe everyone is walking around dressed to the nines and I just don't know."
Well, I think somebody like her that's delusional, I mean, she may not always think she's alone.
That's true. It's kind of like a Sunset Boulevard kind of feel
Oh,
to it.
big time. Or Grey Gardens or something.
Yes.
It's very much like, there's a lot of people in her head, so you don't quite know who's she dressing for. But
Right.
no, my vision of her was that she dresses up a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, like outfit changes throughout the day, I'm sure.
Yeah, outfit
Yeah.
changes, because you never know. She's got a whole,
Descending the steps. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
The adoring public and
Right,
there's nobody there. It's some cockroaches, but whatever. That's
right,
cool too.
right, right.
I'd like to see that like as a deleted scene like performing for the cockroaches or something
Yeah,
like that.
or something. Yeah,
Something.
like an animated version of cockroaches.
Yeah,
That would,
that's good. That's going to be the spin-off.
yeah, so fun.
I mean, I would watch it. You've cut multiple albums, but you've also been a background singer, I read, for like some insane names like Bob Dylan, Etta James, Bette Midler, Olivia Newton-John, bringing it back around to country, Tanya Tucker.
Yeah, no, that's how that was my goal in my life, was I was going to be a singer songwriter.
Hmm.
And I made a living as a background singer all through my 20s because that was really, that was the only way I could make a dime. And then I had a couple of record deals during that period. This was like when the music business was a little simpler. You'd play some gigs, somebody would sign you, and a label would support you. Now it's a little bit more, DIY. But yeah, that was the plan. So I traveled a lot and I worked with a lot of people as a background singer, always wanting to get in the front, but
Hmm.
I was grateful for the work.
Was that fun? And also, it's like it wasn't just a background singer. It's like background singer for these names that were it's like what? Like
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was great. I remember traveling. I traveled with Etta. We in a big bus all across the country and back. And the thrill of that was, she'd let me open the show. She'd let me sing a few songs. And then one time we opened for the Rolling Stones. That was
Oh,
like,
God.
I know, it was amazing.
What?
I felt like I was standing in front of a poster. It was just crazy.
Oh,
So there were some great stories. And then with Bet, I went all around the world. I went all over the world and sang and danced. And I was one of the harlettes. It was really great. And Tanya too. Tanya was a bus. I did a lot of bus touring with Tanya. I just remember she made us wear these like ridiculous costumes.
What was the most ridiculous costume that you had?
I looked like a waitress at your local Mexican restaurant. I was wearing a frilly top, like off your shoulders, and then like a fiesta skirt. And I don't know why that was her choice, but there were two of us and we dressed that way.
Awesome.
But a gig's a gig. What are you going to do?
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'll do that.
And you said, guac is extra. Okay.
Yeah, guac is extra. So, I mean, it was really, I don't know what was in her brain at that time. She was great. She was awesome. Glenn Campbell was around. It was some iconic folks around.
Okay, you need to have someone write that script. Just I would watch this movie for sure. The Katey Sagal story. Hell yeah.
So fun.
What was the most fun part about this for you? I mean, I feel like there's all these different elements that you got to play with, but if you had to like pick something that was like the most fun.
The most fun was, well, I really, I loved, it's like just like on Sons of Anarchy. This sounds so weird because I'm not a violent person at all, but I loved stabbing the guy in the neck. I loved all that. I loved all any of the physical stuff that I got to do was really, it was just great. I mean, I loved, I liked the singing with the girls. I liked so much of it. Here's the biggest challenge of it though. I mean, if anybody knows the horror genre really well, it's a fine line between comedy and horror.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I learned. There were certain days where I'd be like, oh man, we can really make this funny. Because I love to be funny. But we didn't want to make it that, so
Right.
we kept it in the horror world. But you really see how that genre, if you play it over the top, could be really funny.
They go hand in hand. Okay, so now that you've done a horror movie, this is your first one. Are you open to doing more or perhaps a horror comedy?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. I would love that. I would love to do that. There's a whole different way. What I learned was like, there's a whole different way of shooting that genre, the DP, the camera angles, the direction. I mean, everything was like, it's definitely got a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. I love that.
Awesome. I love
standing
that.
behind the director and watching all the different camera angles and stuff. It was great.
Yes. All right. Well, okay, I'm hoping that we'll get to see you in more horror movies because then
Great.
I'll get to talk to you again also. So.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
All right, Katey, thank you so much. Guys, welcome to Convo Fango. Today we are joined by the director and one of the stars of the upcoming Torn Hearts. We've got Brea Grant and Alexxis Lemire, not Lemire.
Hi.
All right, thank you guys for coming to join us and chat today.
Sure. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So first off, let's start with tell us about what Torn Hearts is about.
Torn Hearts is about Alexxis and I haven't done an interview together, so we're gonna.
I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna let you. I'll pick
Popcorn, Brea, go for it.
Yeah. The Torn Hearts is about two up and coming country singers who go to the house of their idol, whose name is Harper Dutch, and she has been in hiding, kind of a hermit for a long time since her sister died, and they're going to try to get her to do a song with them, and then horror ensues.
Yes. Alexxis, did you have fun with that horror ensuing? Because you get to do a lot of fun stuff in this. Like your character in particular, you get to do some fun things.
I do. I had a blast. I had such a fun time. It's always so fun too when, you get along with the cast and the director so well. So it makes everything that much more fun.
It's unfortunate that wasn't the case here, but yeah, I'm sure that is your time.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I was talking about another project. But yeah, no, it was so much fun to shoot. Otherwise, aside from the heat from where we were, that was hot. It was really hot. But other than that, it was awesome.
July in New Orleans, not the greatest time to.
Oh my God, was it like muggy and like just like sweaty all the time too?
Oh my gosh. It was like you step outside and it was like you just took a shower.
Yeah. Okay. Because like hot is one thing. Like I grew up in Palm Springs, so I'm like, okay, 120-degree heat, not my first pick, but like I can survive it. But the second you throw humidity into the mix, I'm like, no, absolutely
it's a whole
not.
different game. Yeah.
Yeah, very bad.
How do you deal with that though when you're shooting and making sure like people don't look just like sweaty all the time?
You have really good people flying in to dab.
Okay.
We were lucky though. Most of the shoot was inside, and we had pretty good AC in most of the locations.
Okay,
I wouldn't say all, but most. We did have some rough outdoor days. Someone asked me earlier what was the hardest thing to shoot, and I was like, the outside days, which are like only like one day of the movie, but it was the hardest thing.
Yeah, but those were the worst. Yeah, and we had like the truck scenes, and there was AC in the truck, but when you turn the truck off, it was an old truck, so when you turn the AC back on, it was blowing hot air. But luckily, our hair and makeup department, they had these electric fans, so Abby and I were just sitting in there every time the camera wasn't on. We were like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
You know, Brea was so good about making sure we were hydrated. She was always like, do you have water?
It's part director, part mom. That's the goal.
That's how you run an efficient set thow, right? I feel like being a good director is kind of like you're also being like, you know, a parent or a camp counselor or something like akin to that.
Yeah, / therapist. That I feel like yeah, and for all those things, that's fine.
The really good ones are / therapist. That's when you know you're like in good hands.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What was like the hottest day then? Was it like during like the truck shoots, or was there another point where it was just like the hottest, most miserable scene that you guys had to do?
The scenes were fine. I never really felt that hot when we were actually doing the scenes, because you're right. When we were inside, the AC, the air was blowing. Like for the most part, that was fine. I think there was just the one day we were doing the exterior of Harper's Gate. That was a rough one.
It was a rough. It was poor Alexxis. It was a rough day for Alexxis.
It was a rough day for me. It was a hot day. I almost passed out. It was really, really hot. And I'm just not used to that kind of heat. So it was like a whole thing for me. I was just not used to it. It was
This is a New Hampshire girl who loves apples. Oh. Like she's a fall girl.
I am. I am such a fall girl. Like I love fall. I don't like when it's too hot, and at least you're right, on the West Coast it's dry heat, so it's not as bad. I was not used to the muggies, not like that. Not like that.
It hits you differently. I feel like it just like if you're not used to that can zap your body so fast if you don't have someone reminding you to hydrate, you know?
Yeah, Abby took it like a champ. I was like, you're fine. I was like, you took it like a champ.
I guess this is a testament to your makeup department and like the efficiency of the dab, because there wasn't ever a part in that where I'm watching it like this is a sweaty summery movie, because there's like that sweaty summer horror, you know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff, and you can just feel the heat coming through. I never felt like disgusting watching this where I'm like I need to like eat some ice or something.
No, and I wanted to make sure I wanted them to stay glamorous looking. That was really important to me. I want to make sure they stay like beautiful to the end. And the local, I mean, so they live in New Orleans, the hair and makeup department, so they are used to dabbing. Okay, dabbing is like their second thing on their resume. Like
they just walk in the room and they just do that thing. I don't even know if I did it right. I don't know how to do that.
I think that was great, and I don't know anything. So
I know. What are the youths up to these days? I don't know.
TikTok? I don't know.
Do the TikToks. So music is like a major component in this, and it's not just like it's a killer soundtrack, but it's almost a character in a certain way, because there's different characters who have to have distinct sounds. You can't just have someone come in and do the music as like a blanket sound. So what were like the challenges of that, and how did you approach that?
Yeah, so the writer Rachel wrote lyrics to the songs, which is not usually the case. I don't think in scripts like this. I haven't really read that many scripts with songs in them, but she wrote lyrics to the songs, and I worked with music producer Alan Ett, who out of Nashville, who took those lyrics and was like, I think I can make songs out of this. So we went through each of the songs and what they would sort of sound like based on the band or the time period or whatever. So like Torn Hearts, I was like, they're more like pop country. They should almost be bordering on like a Taylor Swift or something like that. Whereas like the Duchess Sisters, I want them to have that like 90s country feel. Like it's like a little corny, but also like a little Loretta Lynn, like a little like Dolly. Like I wanted to have that. And then we have this song Go at the end, which was like Hope's last song. And I wanted that one to have like sort of a haunted feeling, like very old school country. So that I mean, he wrote them and sent them back and forth, but we had to do them really fast. So that was the challenge. Okay. That was one challenge. Challenge 2 was finding Alexxis and Abby was, Alexxis can tell you, but I had them record a song when they sent in their audition.
Okay.
And I was only looking at people who could sing, and for the role of Jordan, play guitar. That was really important to me, because I didn't want to get there and fake it. It was just going to feel false if I had to dub someone in later. Right. And I really wanted to we recorded the song Go live. I really wanted to do that live. That felt really important. And luckily I found Alexxis and Abby, who were just amazing singers, and were able to like show up, learn the music. I think they flew in, recorded the songs the next day. Yeah. Right. And then
for sure. Yeah. The night before she got in.
Yeah. And like literally record the songs like when they got there. And then we started shooting a couple of days later. So they had to like really be on it. And they were. It was amazing, actually.
Yeah, she came to my room that night. We had never met. And I just texted her saying, hey, do you want to come hang? And we'll kind of like go over the songs. And I heard her sing live and I was like, singer, probably not me, but that's okay. She's phenomenal, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and it was kind of nice because we got to kind of bond a little bit before going into record it the next day. But yeah, Abby and Katey are phenomenal singers. Even just hearing them live, I was like, oh my gosh.
And they're all phenomenal singers.
They're all phenomenal singers. And I have a cute Alexxis story, which is that we were recording them singing, they're playing their show, and at some point I was like, Alexxis, are you singing live? Because we had a dub track for them to sing along, but it was her own voice she was singing. And she was like, yeah. And I ended up actually being able to record that and use it in part. So it sounds really good, like the live performance. Yeah, because it sounded better while you were singing. So you were actually like projecting into the microphone. And so I was able to use part of that as well. I think most people would have lip synced, but I was like, well, she's singing live. I'm just gonna let her keep going because it looked so good. It looked so realistic.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Yeah. I thought, because if you had the thing playing in the back, we were dubbing over it, so I was like, I might as well just sing it out loud so that it looks like I'm actually singing. I didn't want it to look like I was lip singing either.
And thank God you did, because I think a lot of people do lip sync that kind of stuff, and then it just doesn't look real. But that's
you can tell it's like it's a different energy for sure. But then even like the way that your throat moves and stuff too. If I'm just like mouthing the words versus like actually like projecting, you can see there's like muscles that move that or won't be moving when they should be.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun though. Abby and I feel like we really got into it in that first performance scene. It was like a lot of fun. I remember I had a tambourine and I was telling Brea, she's like, you need to chill out with that. I ended up bruising my whole leg with the tambourine to the point where makeup had to cover my leg in makeup because I bruised myself so bad. She's like, okay, maybe tone it down. Just like, we're just having fun.
Alexxis is she's method. She has to.
Okay. You went full Stevie Nicks with that tambourine. You're like, okay, you're here with the tambourine. We need to bring it here. You just hear nothing but tambourine on the audio track. The sounds of bruises being caused and just like full tambourine. That's so cool that that's your voice, because I just assumed it was probably dubbed. I didn't know if it was you guys singing, but I legit stopped during the scene. I was like, she has such a cool tone to her voice, and it's actually your voice, so that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was definitely cool because I'm actually not really I've never been super into country music, so this was kind of my first opportunity to kind of like try it out, and it was a lot of fun. I feel like I sounded oddly really country, which I wasn't expecting out of my voice, which was so interesting.
It's because you went method and you just went ham with that tambourine, and you just like knocked the country like up into your vocal cords. Yeah, it was buried in there, and you were just like unearthing it. I'm being told we have time for one more question, so I need to pick carefully here. Okay, so for this one, I feel like there's very much like two major concepts at play. There's that whole idea of like, what are you willing to do to like achieve your dreams, and like how far will you go, like eschewing morals and things like that, which is not super relatable for me because like my answer to that was like not a whole lot. Like I'm not gonna like fuck a ton of people over, you know. But on the flip side, I think it's just like my personality, like this personal fear of like getting into a situation where you feel uncomfortable, you know it's not a great situation, but you don't want to be rude, and that is how I would die in a horror movie. So it's like, at what point are you like, peace out, this is fucking weird, this lady is nuts, I need to get out of here, but I don't want to offend her, and also she's my idol and I respect her.
Death by politeness. That's
yes, that's how I would die.
That's so funny.
Which is so lame, but yeah. But do you guys relate to either of those concepts? Or find them scary?
For sure. I mean, I definitely wanted, you know, to ask that question of what the ambition question, right? Like, where does your ambition lead you? But I also, like, for me, it was very important not to judge these women. I wanted, and all the actresses felt the same way, which was great. Like they all, I feel like we're fighting for their characters in some way. Like it was like, it's about ambition, but it's also just about this industry pitting them against each other and them not having another choice. Like that, this is the way these women would have to live in this world.
You're literally gonna duke it out, like
literally duke it out. But yes, listen. The problem with a movie, the hard part about a movie like this is. Why did they stay? And every time anybody would ask me, I don't feel that when I watch the movie. I didn't question it because I'm like, yeah, you would just stay because this is your idol, and you would be polite, and it's a frog in boiling water situation. Like it doesn't seem that weird when they get there, but then it gets weirder and weirder as things go.
Yeah. Yes. But it makes sense to me though because of their characters. Like their character, the whole setup is like this is what they're meant to do. Like this is their ultimate dream. And when you feel like that about anything, it's like, well, yeah, they stayed. Like I was never really watching like, why are you staying? Because there's like, well, there's probably multiple reasons that you're still there. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if Gwen Stefani invited me over, I would probably be like, okay, that's weird, but I'm going to stay.
Yeah. I mean, I think as Alexxis, for sure, in real life, I'd probably be like, this is getting a little weird. But as Lee, being in that situation, it actually was not hard at all to justify. Like, it all really kind of made sense to me that I was like, yeah, I wouldn't leave.
Yeah, because of course that's what Lee would do. Like I'm like, it makes sense. Everything we've learned about her up to this point, and like, yeah, that's what she would stay and be like, no, this is the chance.
This is the shot. This is the one shot.
This is our shot. Take your shot. Come on, Hamilton.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and the soundtrack is such a banger. So I'm excited. I hope that is like available at some point for people to like go and listen to.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Go forth. So get your tambourines ready. Torn Hearts on digital, May 20th. Check it out.